Hello people, another beautiful day. Yeah. What's up Steam Deck fans? It's Wednesday. You know I gotta keep you guys posted on some news, what's going on around here. After that nuke, nah, that ain't a nuke. That's a meteor. After that meteor that Microsoft dropped yesterday, man. Woo! 70 billion big ones. Yeah. Anyway, let me keep y'all posted here. What's going on with the Steam Deck? I was reading this article last night. It says, does the Steam Deck hold the key to Nintendo Switch future? I'm going to read it one more time. Does the Steam Deck hold the key to the Nintendo Switch future? It does. Because what the Steam Deck is doing is letting Nintendo Corporation know you can't cheat video games anymore. Okay? So all that we don't believe in building we don't believe in building powerful consoles. Them days is over with. Okay? See what Nintendo tried to do. They tried to use the 3DS to make the Wii U look bad. That was a big mistake because the Wii U does everything the 3DS do, and it do it better. Then they tried to flood the Switch with games to try the Wii U look bad. But like I told you people before, the Nintendo Switch should have never been built. So what Valve is doing with the Steam Deck is exposing the Switch. That you can't come out here no more with this fake nonsense, with fake hype and fake specs, and you can't run games correctly. Remember the question I asked you guys. I said to you, if it's 1 gig of RAM for the OS, 15 for games. Is it 2 gigs of RAM for the OS, 14 for games? Is it 3 gigs of RAM for the OS, 13 for games? And if it's 4 gigs of RAM for the OS and 12 for games, that is a problem for the Switch. Remember, Valve said we cannot find a game that the Steam Deck couldn't run. That is a problem. If it's 1 gig of RAM for the OS and 15 for games, the Switch can't compete with the Steam Deck. If it's 2 gigs of RAM for the OS and 14 for games, the Switch cannot compete with the Steam Deck. If it's 3 gigs of RAM for the OS and 13 for games, the Switch cannot compete with the Steam Deck. The video game landscape have changed. Power and specs matters in video games. Okay? It really it's always been a factor since day one. But Nintendo tried to hop skip, you know, and that's why their fan base are missing out on games a lot of times. So what the Steam Deck is doing is exposing the Nintendo Switch. Don't come out here no more with this. Well, we don't believe in building powerful consoles anymore. That stuff don't work no more. Them days is over with. So what I was saying to you guys about the Wii U is true. The answer was right in front of their faces. And all they had to do was put some power behind the system and keep on using it. But they went and built the Switch, and they came out in the handheld market thinking that nobody wasn't going to challenge them. And then here comes Valve with the Steam Deck. I'm going to say this again. If it's 1 gig of RAM for the OS and 15 for games, the Switch cannot compete with the Steam Deck. If it's 2 gigs of RAM for the OS and 14 for games, the Switch cannot compete with the Steam Deck. If it's 3 gigs of RAM for the OS and 13 for games, man, the Switch cannot compete with the Steam Deck. So those days of like, oh, we don't believe in building powerful consoles, it's over. Nowhere to run, nowhere to hide now. You have to come out with a powerful console now to compete with the likes of Sony, Microsoft, or even Valve. Because that's what they're doing. They're letting it be known. Sony, Microsoft, and Valve, they won't have a problem getting games. but Nintendo will. Listen to this. The video game landscape have changed, people. Listen to this. It says here, it's been about 5 years since the Nintendo Switch was first released. The hybrid console was initially met with wariness from both consumers and developers, but so far it's seen nothing but roaring success thanks to a combination of factors. First, its home universal acclaim exclusives such as The Legend of Zelda, Breath of the Wild, and Super Mario Odyssey, two of the highest rated games of all times. And that's what it's all about. Console quality games on the go, including third-party AAA titles such as Skyrim, Doom, Witcher 3. So, says here, the portable to dock feature lends itself to a laid-back experience, and the platform focus on bringing local co-op action to the forefront only adds to its versatility. Most of this isn't too surprising, as innovation and software qualities are two things Nintendo is renowned for. But with the arrival of PlayStation 5 and Xbox Series X/S, the Japanese gaming giant needs to fortify one area where the Nintendo Switch lack: the tech itself. See what I told you? Okay. Says here, the NVIDIA Tegra X1 purring at the heart of the Nintendo Switch was first introduced in 2015. NVIDIA-owned Shield TV home console was the first system to use that chip in a commercial product, and it was one of the best ARM chips of its era. However, given the rapid advance in mobile phones and technology, it was made obsolete in a couple years by the newer Snapdragons. So it says here, despite that, the Switch still punches away above its weight with ports such as Doom Eternal and Dying Light, but the hardware won't be able to sustain the streak in the long run. Developers know that too, which is why we see an influx of more cloud-based games on the Switch, such as Marvel's Guardians of the Galaxy. The Nintendo Switch's biggest hardware flaw are its low memory bandwidth and the weak Cortex A57 CPU. With that in mind, Nintendo could go down a few different routes to address this. They could employ a custom variant of some of the latest Tegra models, and rumors have certainly been doubling down on that. And it says here, or they could go the Steam Deck route using AMD Ryzen APU. Those chipsets have so far been the best at striking a balance between power and efficiency. Idea for Nintendo's vision. And then shows here two articles from two tweets from Twitter. Then it says here, last part says here, the Steam Deck SoC boasts a 4C 8-gen CPU up to 3.4 gigs, 16 gigs of LPDDR5 RAM, RDNA 2 GPU with 8 CPUs up to 1.6 gigahertz. If they use the same tech as the hypothetical Nintendo Switch Pro, it would be a massive jump over the current tech. This would also make it easier to port titles from other platforms since they use the same x86 PC architecture. However, it still possesses some problem: thermal power drawback, battery life, and pricing. Says here, the existing Nintendo Switch runs surprisingly cool with an average temperature around 50 Cs when docked. Meanwhile, other handheld PCs such as Neo often hover the hit 70 to 80 range with ease. That's no surprise, however, as the higher settings and more frame per second FPS cause APU to draw up 30 watts. By comparison, the Steam Deck caps out at 15 watts, while the Nintendo Switch draw a scant 5 in handheld mode. On the battery side, Nintendo Switch V2 model boasts up to 9 hours of gameplay with certain titles. It's definitely not something the handheld PCs are like to keep up with, unless players are content with limitation on visuals and performance. Then there's the topic of pricing. These devices are expensive. Valve certainly made the current decision by pricing the lowest deck variant at a friendly $400 price tag. But overall, they are still pricier than the Nintendo Switch, whose cheapest variant costs just $200, which is really not bad if you're looking at a cheap indie machine. And it says here, looking at the big picture, mimicking the competition is certainly the way to go. The aging Nintendo Switch can only pull a trick for so long, especially when the Switch Achilles heel manifests itself with poor performance in games such as Apex Legends. If Nintendo utilized AMD tech and reaches a middle ground with regards to aforementioned factors, they would certainly be catering to everyone. Studios would not need to compromise on their project as much. Meanwhile, unappealing missteps like cloud visions can just be avoided altogether, making consumers happy. And I think that's the end of it. So yeah, the Steam Deck, man. The Steam Deck is no joke, man. And wait a minute, one more paragraph. One more paragraph. The Steam Deck is no joke, man. Last paragraph says here, but this is the big end we're talking about. They're always got surprises up their sleeves, for better or worse. So far, they mostly made the right choices, from marketing to developer support. The company has played their cards safely with Nvidia partnership, understandably so after the Wii U failure, but now is the time for them to be bold and throw caution to the wind. What they're saying is that they need to step up in their hardware department. Okay, so yeah, the Steam Deck is a problem, man, because the Steam Deck is coming. We already know it's coming with 50,000 games, but it's using the latest tech, and it's using AMD's FSR. So the Switch right now cannot compete with the Steam Deck. It can't, you know, it cannot. So they're gonna have to. They like the article said at the end, they have to step up in the hardware department. So yeah, power, when it comes to a video game, speed, power, and performance, it matters, man. Power and specs matters in video games, and you can't downplay it. You know, the Steam Deck is a beast. It's a portable PC. You can connect it to any one of your televisions or any one of your desktop monitors. You can connect it to a tablet and go from there. You know, and yeah, you can't cut corners. You can't cut corners in this video game market, man. You can't cut corners. There's no excuses for that. You know, you can't cut corners, man. Looking for loopholes and shortcuts and thinking that, oh, we don't need a powerful console to run video games. It's stupid, man. It's stupid to think that. So the Steam Deck right now, it's gonna make the Switch look bad, man. It's gonna make the Switch look bad. Because look at it, you got 16 gigs of RAM, man. The Nintendo Switch only use 4 gigs of RAM total. The Steam Deck uses 16. So again, is it 1 gig of RAM for the OS? 15 for games. Is it 2 gigs of RAM for the OS? 14 for games. Is it 3 gigs of RAM for the OS? 13 for games. Or is it 4 gigs of RAM for the OS and 12 for games? Video games have changed, man. So imagine if you can play, say, Gotham Knights on the go, Arkham Knight, and the Return of Arkham series on the go on the Steam Deck, and you can't do it on the Nintendo Switch. That's gonna be a problem, man. So there's no loopholes. There's no loopholes or shortcuts in this video game market. You got to have a powerful console to run video games. You know? You can talk exclusives all you want, but what is the point of having all those exclusives if you don't have a powerful consoles to run video games? Power and specs matters, man. The Wii U didn't fail, dude. What they did was try to use the 3DS to try to sabotage the Wii U. You know, because right now the Switch, they tried to use the 3DS to sabotage the Wii U. Then they turn around and try to flood the Switch with games to try to make the Wii U look bad. But the Wii U is standing tall in all of this because it's still current. So Nintendo should have never built the Switch. I've always said they should have never built the Switch in the first place, based on how the Wii U is built and based on how it utilizes games. And they went and built the Switch, and they were sitting in the handheld market telling people, oh, the Switch is portable, but it was still underperforming when it's docked or undocked, and they were sitting there thinking nobody was going to challenge them. And then here comes Valve with the Steam Deck. Yeah. The video game landscape have changed, man. Has really changed. That Steam Deck is no joke. 16 gigs of RAM? With those CPUs and GPUs that they're pushing? Oh yeah. That handheld device is gonna be good, man. You know? They got what, 80% of the top. They got 80% of the top 100 games running on the Steam Deck already, and the other 20 they're working out. You know, the only issue that Valve got to work on right now with the Steam Deck is the DLSS with NVIDIA, and that's it. But other than that, the Steam Deck is good. So does the Steam Deck holds the key to the Nintendo Switch future? Of course it do. Of course it do. It's telling Nintendo that they got to change their ways. They can't come out here trying to be all cavalier and throwing power and specs around like it's a catchphrase. It ain't no catchphrase. It is real. Okay? If you can play, say, if you can play Horizon Zero Dawn, God of War on the Steam Deck. On the Steam Deck. Yeah. The Steam Deck is a problem, man. Anyway, I'm gonna leave this video for y'all to enjoy. Nice talking to you people again. Chris, still a Star Wars and Star Trek thing. For the dark side. Go. Peace.